This is my English to ASL final presentation. My name is Summer Sutton, and this is for EDU 3353, Professor Wheeler. Before I start, just some housekeeping. One, I was unaware that this assignment was due on Wednesday. It was my understanding that this would be due like the rest of our assignments, which are due by midnight of the last day of the week, which is usually Sunday night. So this assignment is obviously late. I didn't realize that literally until I got ready to submit my first video today. When I saw that, I also saw that the time had changed, because at one time it was over 8 minutes under 15. Then I saw again where it was only supposed to be 5 minutes, and I also was a little confused about that. So here I am. First, also, I have really benefited from this class as a interpreter, working interpreter, and also as an interpreting student. This class has been really beneficial. Out of all the classes I've taken so far at Troy University, this class has definitely provided me with the most significant information. Some of it was recap, but the way in which the Professor Wheeler laid this information out was totally different from how I've learned in the past. And I've also benefited greatly from the communicating with my peers in this course. So I'm going to go into my objectives. Overall, I feel some of the objectives that I mastered were, first would be analyze the message input from the source language, which was English. And I believe I've accomplished this in many ways. At one point, when I would analyze the message for meaning, I would kind of get stuck on some of the wording and trying to find a sign equivalent to the English message. And in this class, you really forced me to think about what was being said and what the overall objective was versus what the words meant. And being able to analyze that incoming source message before I put it into my target message has really benefited me a lot. It's allowed me to set up things more clearly and also provide more of an ASL equivalent message versus just trying to translate the message. And so I definitely feel I've mastered that objective. The second one is to use appropriate affect and emotion in interpreting. I do believe this is an area most of us struggle in from time to time. I found it very beneficial for me to pay attention to the English speaker, not only what they say, but what their body language tells, in order for me to match that affect and present that in my interpretations. One particular area I noticed this is when we were interpreting the photosynthesis video. That was a very straightforward message. However, the speaker's voice was very energetic, and for the most part, he, displayed a constant, excuse me, that's my son, a constant, energy throughout that video, which I was able to match with my sign language interpretation. I also feel I used appropriate register, and I've mastered that, which can be hard sometimes because when you're interpreting in certain settings, there are times when people don't maintain that same register. When you're interpreting in a classroom setting, you have some teachers who are really friendly and laid back, or if you're interpreting in a meeting of all colleagues, people tend to be a little bit more relaxed. So knowing my audience and knowing who I'm interpreting for and what the message is, I was able to master using the appropriate register. Demonstrating execution of correct signing space. This was feedback you gave me initially in my first video, where I was not signing within my proper box. One thing I've noticed since I've received that feedback is I do focus more on trying to keep my signing space clear and presenting my message in that signing space without going outside of my my box. And so I feel like I've definitely gotten better with that based on the feedback that you've given me, because I've never really gotten that feedback before, but I know I sign bigger because I love performing arts interpreting, and that is a specialty I like to go in. And so having to use my box sometimes gets I mess up sometimes, and I sign a lot bigger than what the information needs to be signed. So I think I've mastered that, and I understand that if I sit down for one, I stay in my signing space. Where if I'm standing up, I definitely tend to sign bigger. So, and I think that comes from the platform interpreting. Also, process and produce equivalent message into ASL. I truly believe I've been able to process and produce that message, even when the message has been hard, like the last video we did with the new device technology that can drive cars. That was a challenging video, but when I sat back and watched that video, I think I did pretty good with interpreting that information, especially when it comes to having to expand on some of the information from that video to make sure it's clear and and it's understandable. So I do feel like I was able to master that objective as well. Some of the work in which I feel I demonstrated mastery of these objectives, or again, the photosynthesis video, the video about the new technology in the Smithsonian Zoo. They're not in order, but the Smithsonian Zoo was the first one that we pretty much did, I believe, in. Aside from our baseline interpretation, which was the Bronstein Bears, the Smithsonian Zoo, I think I tend to focus more on the word equivalent to match the sign, and it was a little harder for me. But by the time we got to photosynthesis with your feedback and watching my peers, I feel like I got much better. So I've definitely seen growth in setting up my interpretation to be more ASL, which was something I struggled with. So I'm very proud of myself so far throughout this course. I know I have a long ways to go, but I think this course definitely set the framework for me to continue to build on what I've already known in the interpreting field, but to also continue to develop on my skills. So this is my final presentation. Thank you.